Wisconsin is expecting the most primary voters we've seen in 40 years. Pete Zervakas tells us how Wisconsin became a hot spot on the campaign trail and who Governor Walker plans to support.
Speaking to media at the first regional robotics competition in Milwaukee, Governor Scott Walker said he's glad to see presidential hopefuls ramping up their efforts in the Badger State.
Regardless of party, I think that's a good thing. We'd like the more contact our voters can have with the candidates, the better off it is for the people of the state.
We might be the pivotal primary.
Political science professor and former Democratic state lawmaker Mordecai Lee says Wisconsin's primaries haven't always been this important.
Over the last 20 years, almost always both the Republican nomination and the Democratic nomination have been sewn up before they get to Wisconsin.
He says on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders should win big in Madison, and Hillary Clinton is expected to do well in Milwaukee. The rest of the state's congressional districts are up for grabs. Among the Republicans, Lee says Wisconsin might be a last-stand state for Senator Ted Cruz against businessman Donald Trump.
Wisconsin is going to decide, are we going to narrow the gap between Cruz and Trump, or are we going to extend Trump's lead?
The governor says he'll decide mid to late next week on whether to make an endorsement.
The bottom line is any candidate, both in the primary and in the general election, is ultimately got to connect to the voters regardless of who the endorsements are.
In Milwaukee, Pete Zervakas, today's TMJ4.
86 delegates are up for grabs in Wisconsin on the Democratic side. There are 42 delegates at stake in the Republican primary here. Both parties allocate some of those delegates proportionally by congressional district.